Evening, everybody. Thank you very much for your patience. A warm welcome to Crossword, and it's good to see you all. I think every time we get together for a launch, we're always looking forward to what author we're going to be exploring, the book that we're going to be exploring, and today is no different. We have author of the best-selling book, Keep the Change. She's come up with her next book titled Intermission. Ladies and gentlemen, an encouraging round of applause for Ramasubramanian. And joining her with us today is Gulpana. Thank you so much, Gul, for being here with us today. A very special thank you to everybody in the audience. As you all know, at Crossword, we aim to be a point of social and cultural interaction, where authors and poets hold court, where children are regaled, informed, to be entertained, and to be enlightened. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be officially launching the book for all of you. And before we do that, a very special thank you to HarperCollins for giving the book such a wonderful platform, the publisher of the book. Thank you very much. And before I can officially start off, I'm just going to give the audience a very short snippet about what's in store for you. Of course, we'll have Nirupama telling us much more about it. Well, he wondered why he, 44-year-old successful entrepreneur, faithful husband and competent father of a 16-year-old boy, a man with the stolidity of half his life behind him and the certainty of what lay ahead, should wait every morning for a glimpse of this girl like a teenager in the first throes of an infatuation. From the author of the best-selling book Keep the Change, we have a novel about Delhi suburbia, set in Gurgaon, the dazzling face of modernity in India. Intermission takes us into the lives of Varun and Gayatri Sarin, not so happily married corporate couple who are trying to come to terms with life in India. After several years, Varun is focused on running his own business. Gayatri yearns for her friends and her life in the US. Their son Anirudh is grappling with his first adolescent crush. From intrusive in-laws and absconding domestic staff to potholes and pigs on the road, there is a new challenge to be confronted every day. Then, Varun meets Sweetie, young mother of twins, who is living her dream life in a nuclear family, and everything from there on changes. Honors, ladies and gentlemen, if you can please give Nirupama Subramanian once again an encouraging round of applause on her second book, Intermission. Thank you very much. And I think, Nirupama, over to you now. After a best-selling book, I think it must have taken in a lot of effort for you to decide what's the next book that you needed to come up with. So how did the entire thing happen?
Okay, that's interesting. I don't know how many of you have read Keep the Change, but Keep the Change is a bit... Thank you. I know, and Gul said I will come for launching Keep the Change if I like the book, and thank God. That happened. So Keep the Change was very light, it was fun, it was a chick lit kind of a book about a single girl who goes from Chennai to Bombay and what kind of a life she has there and how she kind of struggles to fit in with the corporate world. So I've completely moved away from that theme and that genre, and now it's no longer young single girl, but it's middle-aged 40-year-old man. And yeah, you can see that's probably the course of most of our lives, right? So that's the way it moves. And this time it's very different. It's a middle-aged man who falls in love with his young neighbor. So interesting topic. And I remember discussing with you, Gul, that you were saying in the first book there's nothing hot, there's not too much of sex happening.
Well, it wasn't about the sex really, but it was just that I thought it sort of stayed back from the natural progression of things.
Yes. So Intermission is a big leap from there as well. So I think what we thought we would do is, talk a little bit about the book, and I'm going to ask Gul some interesting questions, and we'd like to throw it open to you to also share about certain themes which I think are relevant for all of us.
Yes, and Nirupama is a friend now, of course. We met during the course of the launch of her now best-selling novel, Keep the Change, and I think somebody from Harper's had gotten in touch. I read the book, and I liked it very much, and that's how we got talking. Nirupama's husband, Nirupama and I are dear friends, and I'm glad to be here to launch her second book, which I hope will also be a bestseller. But while I read Keep the Change and turned up to launch it, I did not read Intermission, and I have come without reading it. I've had the most hectic last few weeks. In fact, Nirupama very sweetly offered to send me a soft copy of the book, but I thought there's no fun reading a book unless you can feel the paper. And by the time I got the hard copy, I was just in no shape physically or mentally to read it. But I start reading it tomorrow, or tonight.
Yes, especially
so
after
here I am.
Yes, the talk. And thank you for coming to do this without reading the book.
Well, because I read her first book, so I know she is a good writer, and I connect with the way she writes. And I'm happy she's taken the leap.
Yes.
In more ways than one.
Yes, blind faith. So as long as, the middle-aged man in my life, that's my husband, doesn't take the leap,
yes.
we are safe. Okay, so I want to read little bits of the book, but the important thing is, I think, to just see the themes of the book, which are very relevant for everybody today in so-called modern life. And so I'll read a bit and talk about a topic, and then we'll have a little chat about that. So Intermission is about a marriage between two middle-aged people. The marriage is not going very well, and for various reasons, so we'll explore that. And the middle-aged man falls in love with his young neighbor, and things take an unexpected turn. And in the backdrop of all this is the urban, so-called suburban rather, city of Gurgaon, where the book is set. So it's based in Gurgaon. It's also about life in any modern Indian city. So I'll read a little bit about the beginning so that you can see where this is going, and then we'll talk about marriage. He saw her then, rounding the curve of Tower 1 and stepping onto the path that circled the park, pausing for a second to adjust the iPod strapped to her arm. Varun felt the knot in his chest unravel. She was in a bright red halter-neck t-shirt that scooped her breasts into a rounded prominence and black track pants. He took in the jaunty arc of her long ponytail, the dip of her waist, and the determined swaying of her narrow hips. Her face was indistinct from this distance, but he had an impression of delicate bones, a smudged mouth, and buttery skin. It seemed to him that she was being borne along in a shiny bubble, in this world and yet not a part of it. And he wondered, as he had done for the past 3 weeks, if she were only a part of his imagination. As he watched her, he tried to recall the moment when he had first noticed her, when he had changed from a dispassionate onlooker to an interested observer to an avid watcher. And he wondered why he, Varun Sarin,